The previous corpse had already been burned by someone, and now it was just a matter of finding out the old lady Ren and destroying it. Tomato led the way in front, and Uncle Nine and Ah Wei followed behind with soldiers. The smell is very thin, and the tomato can only be smelled in all four directions, and then pick a strong direction to go. And this skilled tomato has almost been explored, and not everything can be smelled. Popularity, corpse gas, and ghost cheese should be fine, but things like daily food are not good at all. Following the smell in this town for a while, Uncle Nine asked suspiciously, "Is it almost there?" "Woohoo, not yet, but the flavor is getting clear," Tomato then said. "I still don't understand," Uncle Nine sighed. Tomato took a group of people around. The surrounding environment became more and more familiar, and when he passed by the corner, he found that he had actually returned to Uncle Nine's house. A sense of foreboding hung over everyone. Could it be? Sure enough, as soon as I approached, I found that the door of the house had collapsed to the ground on the inside, and there were several black footprints on the glutinous rice covering the ground. "The zombies are here." Uncle Nine walked into the house with a solemn face and raised his eyes. At this time, the house was in a mess. The furniture was messy and fell to the ground. It seemed that there had been a fierce fight here, but now the silence was a little scary. "Wensai! Chusheng!" Uncle Nine yelled loudly, but no one responded. "Hurry up and find out!" Captain Ah Wei shouted, and the soldiers behind him cautiously looked around. "Huh?" Tomato's nose itched again, and he smelled a faint smell of blood, which seemed to be coming from the next room. The tomato followed the taste, and the closer you got to the door, the stronger it became, and when you pushed the door open, you saw a shocking scene. In the room, old lady Ren was sticking her hands in Ren Ting Ting's abdomen, lifting her up, and then the zombie fangs bit her neck and sucked blood fiercely. In the corner of the room, Wen Kai was torn into two pieces and fell aside. His internal organs and blood slowly flowed down the floor of the room, and his eyes had lost their luster. Ren Ting Ting, who was bitten, still had the last trace of consciousness. Her face was pale. She looked at the tomato extremely weakly, and her hand pointed slightly in one direction. This action seemed to completely drain her last trace of vitality, and before she finished it, she died as soon as her eyes closed. The audience in the live broadcast room also looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief, and they didn't expect that just going out for a while would lead to the theft of their homes and the death of people. It's so miserable that no one has the heart to send a barrage for a while. When the door was opened, the pungent smell made Uncle Ju's heart chuckle, and he walked quickly, and when he saw the two people who died tragically in front of him, his eyes immediately turned red. "Wensai! Ting Ting!" Captain Ah Wei was also stupefied by the situation in front of him, and a foul smell of liquid flowed out of his pants. Uncle Ju's eyes were about to split, his hands trembled slightly, and he stepped forward in a few steps and kicked his foot old lady Ren. With a bang! The old lady Ren was shocked and took a few steps back, and Ren Ting Ting also slid down with the wall, but her head was tilted, obviously out of breath. "I'll kill you." Tomato is also angry, and the scenes of getting along before flashed in front of him, but I didn't expect it to be all gone now. The indicator quickly turned red, the nails grew violently, and the tomato rushed forward desperately. At this time, the old lady Ren was completely different from before. His eyes could see, his skin was stiffer, and after sucking Ren Ting Ting's blood, his limbs were softer and more humane, and he seemed to have regained a little consciousness. Roar! Seeing the tomato rushing towards him, he rushed directly and fearlessly, and the two zombies collided together quickly. As soon as he touched the tomato, he was knocked out and smashed, shattering all the tables and chairs around him. "Fuck your uncle. Why is your strength so great?" Seeing this, Uncle Nine took out the ink fountain. There was still a small section left to use, and the foot stepped on the 7-star steps to bypass one side, tying up the old lady Ren. The sparks broke out instantly. The old lady Ren yelled in pain, directly broke free from the ink fountain rope, stretched out his claws and grabbed Uncle Ju's neck. Uncle Nine hurriedly dodged to the side, picked up the glutinous rice on one side and splashed it. At this time, the tomato also happened to step forward again, and was affected a little, and his whole body hurt as if he had been electrocuted. But Tomato has already entered the play, and regardless of it, he stretched out his paw and slashed at the neck of the old lady Wren. Brush. The claws cut through it, like a knife cutting leather, and it could not be cut at all. And when the old lady wren came down with her paws, there were a few more blood marks 2 or 3 centimeters deep on the tomato's chest, and the skin was open. It can't be that there were too many glutinous rice bubbles before, and even the strength has decreased. Tomato is angry, and I don't believe it. The two of them frantically greeted each other, and in the end, Tomato exploded in anger, brushed away old lady wren's hand, stepped forward directly, opened his blood basin and bit his neck. This time it finally pierced the skin of the old lady wren, biting it and screaming convulsively. There was no blood, only the smelly corpse water, and the meat was very smelly, but Tomato just wouldn't let go. Bite you inhuman guy, scum of zombies. Seeing that old lady wren was struggling frantically, Uncle Nine was about to break free, so he immediately took out the money sword, bit his finger, and smeared the blood on the sword body. Then he pinched 3 clear fingers with one hand, pointed at the center of his eyebrows with the other hand, activated the money sword, and flew towards the zombie's eyes. Old lady wren was restrained, and he didn't have time to reach out to grab it, so he was stabbed in the eye by the money sword. Roar! A burning sound and foul smoke rose from his eyeballs, and the old lady let out a howl of pain and fanned the tomatoes away in a rage. Because of the death of the tomato, he was bitten and brought up a large string of flesh and blood. The tomato snorted and spat out the stench. Old lady wren wanted to pull out the money sword, but Uncle Nine didn't give him this opportunity at all, and with the force under his feet, a flying kick directly hit the hilt of the money sword. The money sword and sword body were all submerged in the eyes of the old lady wren, and the rich black juice flowed out, and the old lady wren was furious and crashed around. Tomato stood beside Uncle Nine and gasped, "This zombie is too difficult to deal with. If it weren't for Uncle Nine, he would definitely be finished." Wow! What's going on? At this moment, a familiar voice came from outside the door. Wow! What's going on? At this moment, a familiar voice came from outside the door. When Tomato looked back, it was a 4-eyed Taoist. I saw that he was wearing a Taoist robe and wearing his trademark high-counting glasses to constantly look into the courtyard, and behind him stood a row of 10 zombies with talismans on their foreheads. Roar roar, 4-eyed chief, help! Tomato ran over to ask for help. As a result, the face of the 4-eyed Taoist changed greatly. Zombie. Kick the tomato away with a decisive kick, then insert his hand into the ever-bright lamp to pick up the lamp oil, sprinkle it on the zombie behind him, and shake the sanching bell. Suddenly, 10 zombies jumped in and ran in and surrounded the tomato. "Senior brother, don't make trouble. That's not it, it's this that you have to deal with." Uncle Nine was originally holding a rope and wanted to tie up the zombies, but when he looked back, he saw that it was messy, and hurriedly stopped it. Only then did Simu realize that there was a zombie over there, and the posture was even more vicious. So he ordered 10 zombies to jump to help. At this time, the old lady wren had already pulled out all the money swords and smashed them to the ground, but he was also blind in one eye. The sudden appearance of so many zombies still made him hesitate a little, but when he tried it, it was all like goods. Tomato didn't expect the 4-eyed zombie to be so bad. Do zombies also have levels? At this time, I can't care so much. Old lady wren wants to escape again. If he escapes again this time, he will probably be invincible next time. Uncle Nine tied the zombie's feet with a wine gourd, pulled it down, and rolled over to hold it down. The 4-eyed Taoist pulled out a sword from behind his back and plunged it into his left arm without hesitation. The tip of the sword was only an inch long, but it also played a role in containment. On the other side, Tomato grabbed his arm and pulled hard behind him, trying to break it. As soon as the 3 of them were in this formation, the old lady wren couldn't move. He could only keep roaring, and the gloomy corpse gas kept pouring out of his mouth. When Uncle Nine saw it, he immediately shouted, "Hurry up and suck the zombie gas out of his mouth." In addition to the 3 people who were suppressed, only Captain Away was left, and all his subordinates had long since disappeared. When Captain Away saw the zombie's terrifying and hideous face, his legs were stunned, and as soon as he squatted down, he was so smoked by a foul smell that he wanted to vomit, and he didn't dare to speak. Tomato couldn't stand it anymore and yelled, "Roar roar! You hurry up, I can't hold it anymore. Or you press it, I'll suck it." It took a lot of effort to make Away understand that Tomato was squatting on the zombie interview, holding its face firmly with both hands. Not to mention, it's a really exciting feeling. Everyone in the live broadcast room watched without blinking, as a first-person perspective, except for the smell of not being able to ask questions. They could basically understand the feelings of Tomatoes. A lot of sailors started cheering him on. Tomato, real man. Hold back. Kiss it. Suck fast, just don't stick your tongue out. Tomato kissed it violently in his heart. At first glance, I knew that it was very green, and I didn't have much experience with kissing, and my noses were bumped together. Tomato only felt a foul smell towards his mouth, and his throat used it. Unlike the solid feeling of biting his neck before, this time it was more like gas. Old Lady Wren struggled frantically, but as the tomato sucked, its struggle became smaller and weaker, and it became more and more stiff. Don't let go until the tomato can't suck anything out at all. Although it felt disgusting, Tomato could clearly feel that his body had become significantly stronger. Fangs, nails at least half lengthened, skin hardened, and inexhaustible strength all over the body. It turns out that zombie gas still has this use. Can it be used to upgrade? Damn, then I won't be able to kiss zombies in the future? Uncle Nine saw that the zombie had become a lot weaker, so he slowly let go, took the sword of the four-eyed Dao chief, stabbed it into its chest, and then lit it with a charm and threw it on the zombie, slowly burning. Old Lady Wren was not completely dead, and the raging fire enveloped her, and she could only wail in pain until her whole body was burned to ashes. Phew. Panting tiredly, Simu sat down on the ground to rest, and asked, by the way, what the hell is going on? Uncle Nine lowered his head and looked at the fire silently, the light of the flame flickering on his face. I don't know if it's an illusion. Tomato feels that Uncle Nine at this moment is a lot older. You guys are talking, by the way, what about Wensai Chusheng? Zombie, tell me about it. Seeing that the four-eyed Taoist leader was looking over, Tomato had no choice but to point to the room in front of him. The four-eyed Taoist walked over suspiciously, and only after a while did he slowly come over and pat Uncle Ju's shoulder. Senior brother, morning. Uncle Nine shook his head. Maybe this is their fate, but I don't know where Chusheng went. Autumn birth. Tomato groaned for a moment, and suddenly woke up. The female ghost is also gone, thinking that the female ghost has always wanted to attack Chusheng before. At this moment, Tomato shook his spirit, and an incomparable feeling of self-reproach came to his heart. Hey, I blame myself for believing in female ghosts, which is why I hurt these three people. It's too careless in this glamorous world. Uncle Nine looked around the embarrassing scene. His eyes were full of sadness, and he turned around and walked towards the door with his hands behind his back. Tomato felt remorseful in his heart, squatting in place and blaming himself. The four-eyed Taoist shook his head and ordered the zombie to go out. The picture freezes, and then slowly darkens. In the background music, the familiar annoying nursery rhyme slowly sounded in the sound of knocking bamboo. His eyes, are like stars shining. The subtitles are also revealed little by little. Game Over, produced by Orange E Studio. Not only was Tomato stunned, but millions of people in the entire live broadcast room were also deeply involved, but I didn't expect that through the step-by-step choice and inner involvement, it would end up like this. Chusheng is missing. Wensai. Ren Tingting is dead. This is unacceptable even for a tomato with a very good mentality. Xiao Zhou, who has been peeping at the screen, is also silent. What will it be like if he comes to fight by himself? The little Taoist thought about his apprenticeship, although it was very stable, but he still had to be cautious in the face of choices. This ending is really depressing. Although it is a tragic ending, it is also written by myself and belongs to my own ending, which is the most charming thing about this game. It's a pity. Hey, with this clearance of tomatoes, I believe it should be avoided, but I'm not sure myself. Cry. Cry for me. I didn't expect my Ting Ting to die so miserably. I chose to follow Uncle Nine before, and I gained the most, but this time I chose to follow Uncle Nine, and my home was stolen. It's game over. It's a little melancholy. The sailors quietly waited for the background music and subtitles to end. This is the first person to clear the level, and they have to figure out what will happen later. What if the eldest brother hides Easter eggs in the back? The most important thing is what Chen Yi said before, and the new content can only be known after customs clearance. Soon the soundtrack ended, and in the silence, Uncle Ju's voice suddenly sounded, which was a little low. It's better to retire. With this sound, the picture brightened. Tomato found himself still standing in Uncle Ju's yard, but at this time, the yard was no longer as tidy as it used to be, and it became desolate and dilapidated, as if no one had lived in it for a long time. Tomato sighed and said, "Old Iron, I really didn't expect to play this ending, and now that I'm back here, I guess I can start a new game plot. But I'm not reconciled. I don't believe that the ending of the game will be so tragic. It should be that I didn't play well, and now Uncle Nine has obviously retired, and the apprentice is also dead, missing, so what's the point of playing now?" As soon as I heard it in the live broadcast room, I knew that this guy Tomato was on the top and wanted to read the file again. "Indeed, if you want me, I'll do it all over again, and I can't accept this ending. I won't, after all, this ending is also unique, so the next plot should also be unique. I'm looking forward to it." "Tomato, you follow your heart, we all have no opinion." Tomato was very moved. "I didn't expect this to be so confidant to netizens, maybe everyone is immersed in it. I'd better think about it first and be cautious. After all, I'm not sure what the ending of my reopening will be, and the ending this time is so miserable, it hurts me, and I have to delay it for a few days. I'll make an announcement to you then. I hope you will cheer more next time." Then the tomato ended in a carnival of rocket planes. With the sowing of tomatoes, netizens are also boiling. This is the first person to clear the game since its release, and Tomato really did what he said. Immediately the emotions fermented, and the recording and broadcast of the game were everywhere within a few minutes, and the Scarf, Bean Sound, and Coin Station all rushed to the top position of the major platforms once they were logged in. Everyone is paying attention to this sudden ending. Keywords such as zombie stream, home stolen, and tragic ending soared in popularity, and the player group began to discuss the operability of this gameplay. Many foreign players were amazed after watching the operation of Tomato, and immediately translated it into a foreign language and reprinted it on YouTube and TUI. Tomatoes exploded all at once. Even if some of the translations are really bad, they can't stop the enthusiasm of gamers, and the number of video views has exceeded 100 million on the whole network in a short period of time. The comment area is a tribute to the pioneers of the game. "Oh my god, look at this professional player of Shaw Country, he actually cleared the level in this way. Come on, man, if I had to kiss a zombie, I'd rather die, not in the game. I promise God that I will definitely save everyone and let Uncle Nine not quit. Damn groundhog, my sisters and I loved Shushung to death, and he actually disappeared in the end. This ending is just as bad as the blueberry pie made by Aunt Susan next door. I wish I could have a good ending of my own. Baga. Why isn't there a happy end? Shiba. Why is there still no stick language in the translation?" Chen Yi knew it as early as when Tomato cleared the game. On the one hand, it was a system reminder, and on the other hand, Chen Xiaoning next to him kept chattering. Go up and bite, Uncle Nine is handsome. Give it all to me. Kill this stinky zombie." And this chick actually cried when she saw it in the end, and wiped her tears with a tissue and said, "Brother, Uncle Nine's back is too lonely. Brother, what to do? I don't want this ending." Chen Yi laughed dumbly when he heard this. "Then fight hard by yourself and strive for a good ending." Chen Xiaoning blinked his eyes, and suddenly smiled like a flower and said, "What, dear Jeji, can you reveal a little bit of information to your lovely sister, I think?" Chen Yi interrupted directly without saying a word, and by the way, he snapped his fingers on her skull. "No, you don't want to. This game still follows your heart, if you don't want to have no game experience at all." As soon as Chen Yi said this, Chen Xiaoning was no longer reluctant, but just muttered dissatisfied. "HMPH, stinky brother, forget it if you don't say it. With my title as a professional gamer, I don't believe I can't play with a perfect ending." With that, he took out his notebook and began to analyze the details a little bit to prepare for the next time he entered the game. Chen Yi ignored her and looked at the system panel in amazement. The live broadcast of Tomato this time has driven up the emotional value of more than 100,000, plus the previous 800,000, a proper million emotional value. I didn't expect the ending to give the player such a big emotion. It seems that a few more emo results can be made to make everyone's emotions explode. Chen Yi thought a little wilted. But now it's almost time to add new game content. Although Tomato is now cleared. But if there's no new content loaded, you can only continue to wander around the town. as a sightseeing simulator. Ideographic period. Chen Yi looked at the 1 million emotional value and smiled, and he could let go of his hands and feet. Since you want to fill it with expansions, it's important to choose which game content. Do you want to open several at the same time? Chen Yi pondered for a moment and shook his head with a smile. They can't handle it if it's too much open. Some bosses are not as strong as they are. It's impossible to rely on players alone to deal with it. Unless the online function is sorted out. Ideographic period. But it's still too early, and as soon as the online function comes out, it's just like going to deliver food en masse. A few works flashed in his mind, but Chen Yi still decided to use Mr. Phantom as the main one, and then add some other Easter eggs for others to discover. So Chen Yi silently thought in his heart, "System, make Mr. Phantom into a game and load it into the zombie world in the form of an expansion piece." Ding! After calculation, the emotional value required to make the game this time is 300,000. Do you confirm the production? 300,000, so terrifying. The previous production was only 100,000, why did it triple all of a sudden? Because the system needs to adjust, Mr. Phantom, to integrate the worldview of the two games without contradiction. This part needs to consume the highest emotional value. Note that the more games you integrate, the more emotional points will be required. It turns out that this is the case, and Chen Yi also understands that after all, it is not so easy to put two works together. It seems that there will be more collection in the future, and Chen Yi conservatively estimated that the third game fusion would be estimated to be 600,000 or 700,000 emotional values. Okay, let's make it. Ding! The game is in progress. There is a duplicate exception for Uncle 9 apprentices in the game. Please select the name of the apprentice to keep. If you are an apprentice, Chang Aid is really pulling across. Let's use Wensai Chusheng. Otherwise the player will be angry when he sees that everyone has changed, and he still looks like this ghost. Choose Wensai Chusheng. Ding! The game expansion has been made and can be uploaded to the game. Chen Yi smiled slightly, ready to accept a new test. Players. Copy the game file to the platform, choose to upload the game expansion, and everyone who passes the game will see the download. Price words. It's $1.99, cheap and close to the people. It's not that Chen Yi doesn't want to make money. Now the game sales have exceeded 10 million, and his net worth has exceeded 3 billion yuan. There is so much money that it can't be spent at all. It's just a number, and although his shell company, Orange Easy Game Studio, is not listed, there are professional companies to give an assessment, and the market price is definitely more than 5 billion, and it continues to rise over time. Today, Chen Yi can finally say that sentence in an atmospheric manner. I'm not interested in money. During the game upload, Chen Yi was thinking about making an announcement later, and the doorbell was ringed. Who is it? The two siblings haven't talked to anyone since they moved here. Is it the property? Chen Xiaoning was also curious to look over. There was a display screen in the room, and he could see the situation of people outside. It was two men, one old and one young, both wearing suits and leather shoes, bending down and waving to the screen with a respectful face. Who? Chen Yi asked with a frown. Is this Mr. Chen Yichen's home? I am the president of the bank, and I have come here to make amends to you this time. The man in his 50s and 60s at the head hurriedly explained politely. Banks? Chen Yi rang the phone call before. It's been a few days, and it's still coming. No, go back. Chen Yi was not interested in their apology. Don't, brother, I really want to see what they say. Chen Xiaoning is a master who doesn't think it's a big deal to watch the excitement, and hurriedly said. Chen Yi shrugged. His sister Paper can read it if she wants. Then Chen Xiaoning pressed the door open and let them in. The president of the bank breathed a sigh of relief with a happy face, and when he heard Chen Yi say no, his heart sank to the bottom. Walking along the path through the courtyard and coming to the gate, Chen Yizheng was standing by the door with coffee waiting for them. Chen Xiaoning was holding popcorn and watching curiously. Let's talk about it right here. Chen Yi yawned, obviously not wanting the two to enter the door. The bank president understood at a glance, but he has been dealing with customers and has eaten all kinds of soft and hard nails, so he doesn't care, and said with a smile. Mr. Chen, an employee of our bank didn't understand the situation of the matter and had a bad attitude towards you. So I brought him this time and asked him to apologize to you. hoping that you can forgive him if you don't remember the villain. I wanted to come to the door on the same day, but I heard that you had moved, and it took us a little time to know about it, so I hope you don't be surprised. Oh yes, there are some gifts here, a little bit of care from our bank. I hope Mr. Chen can accept them." After the bank president finished speaking, the man behind him stepped forward and bowed to Chen Yi and said, "Mr. Chen, I was wrong about what happened before, and I apologize to you here, please forgive me. Admit your mistakes when you open your mouth, and stand up when beaten, at least this old guy's attitude is good." It was originally a trivial matter. Chen Yi didn't care much, so he nodded and said, "Well, I understand, but if I'm just a poor guy with little money in the card today, I guess you won't come to the door in person, President, and you won't even have an apology call." The president didn't expect Chen Yi to answer like this, although this is a fact, but the fig leaf tearing open still made the bank elder blush and smiled awkwardly. "Well, that's it, and I don't want to be bothered anymore." "No problem. By the way, Mr. Chen, in order to make your money happy, our bank has specially customized a special black card for you, and your affairs will be handled first in the future." The bank president hurriedly touched the bank card with his hands respectfully. Chen Yi took it and nodded. "Then I won't send it." Okay, then don't bother." The bank president gave his men a look, and the two bowed away. Out of the door, the bank president breathed a sigh of relief. "The matter has finally come to an end. You guy, don't make trouble for me in the future." The young man was a little timid and said, "Uncle, is it really necessary to do this? You're still too young. With the speed at which he makes money, it's easy to fix this. You just need to save the money in and take it out, and then the headquarters will blame us and we'll all be finished. Let's go." Fortunately, the matter is solved, and there will be fewer dogs in the future. The young man nodded busily, but he was thinking in his heart, "Aren't you the same, watching people get off the plate?" "Brother, show me." Chen Xiaoning snatched the card and was surprised by the delicate gold lines on it. "It's amazing. I've heard of this card, although it can't be compared with the international black gold card, but it is also extremely precious in China, and there shouldn't be many people who hold it." Chen Xiaoning is still the same little money fan. Chen Yi casually threw the card to her and let her play by herself. Chen Xiaoning couldn't put it down, and in a blink of an eye, he saw that there were still gift bags on the garden floor. His eyes lit up, and he hurriedly ran over to look. Pure gold bank commemorative coin. Designer bags and cosmetics. Wow. That's a lot of stuff, brother. Chen Yi had already walked back to the room, and Chen Xiaoning's fussy cries could still be heard behind him. They are all smart people, and the bank president also knows that it is impossible to use this gift to envelop Chen Yi. Chen Yi doesn't care about this gift, it's just a beautiful thing on the scene. As soon as he entered the house and put the cup down, the doorbell rang again. This would not need Chen Yi. Chen Xiaoning's lively personality suddenly ran to see it. "Brother, Mr. Ma is here." "Huh?" Chen Yi was a little surprised. How did Mr. Ma find this from Mr. Ma's goose factory? Didn't wait long. I heard footsteps, and Chen Xiaoning came over with Mr. Ma. Although Chen Yi has never seen him, he has often seen it in the media, and sure enough, he still looks like that, wearing glasses and looking shrewd. "Ha ha ha, this is Mr. Chen, right? He is really young and promising." Mr. Ma may have been used to a high position, so he was not polite at all, and took the initiative to speak. Chen Yi was even more polite, and said with a smile, "It's me. I don't know how Mr. Ma knows that I live here." "I live near here. A few days ago I heard that the last villa in the villa area was bought. Today I inquired about you. Just after dinner is okay to come over to consume, don't mind." "Hee, it's strange to believe you. Don't mind, sit down." "Xiaoning, pour a glass of water for Mr. Ma. There should be etiquette." Chen Yi still has it. The two of them sat on the sofa, and Mr. Ma kept looking at the young man in front of him, who should be 10 years younger than himself. How could he be so powerful to develop such a game? It's really a money-absorbing weapon, but it's a pity that it's not in your own hands. Tut tut. Although I have sent someone to contact me before and refused to cooperate, it doesn't matter. Young people are still easy to fool. Mr. Ma is not a person in a high position, and he has an aura as soon as he opens his mouth, wanting to convince people. However, Chen Yi had no desires, and he was not scared of him at all. Mr. Ma also found out, a little embarrassed. "No way, the other party is too young, and he unconsciously regards it as his subordinate. Later, Mr. Ma talked about the game from daily life, and he also played it himself, but his domineering president's personality was too eye-catching in the game, and he was shot and killed by Captain Ah Wei after playing for a while. This Chen Yi didn't expect that even Captain Ah Wei couldn't stand it. How nonsense was it? Later, Mr. Ma also asked if he could open some permissions in the game, add some equipment or something. He really couldn't stand being so passive in the game. After all, he hadn't licked anyone for many years. All of your game accounts are the highest level of Krypton Gold Dao. When Chen Yi heard this, he was a little disdainful in his heart. He really thought that this game was a kryptonite game. Mr. Ma saw that the time was almost up, so he asked tentatively, "Mr. Chen, the game studio of the Goose Factory admires you very much. I don't know if you are interested in working. If you come over, the entire game studio is under your command, and there are shares in the Goose Factory. These are easy to say. Hey, it's really unprofitable. Now everyone just thinks that he is the spokesperson who has been pushed out, and wants to poach him. If he knew that all the games were made by him, then he would not have said such childish questions and conditions." With Chen Yi's refusal, the atmosphere of the chat has also undergone some subtle changes, and it just so happens that the topic also talks about the game pattern of today's market, and Mr. Ma's chips are still rising, as if he is reluctant to such a good talent. However, the implication is obvious. In this game industry, it is basically impossible to fight with the Goose Factory that occupies half of the country. Even if it is technically impossible to catch up, there are other means. The routines of plagiarism and splashing dirty water can no longer be familiar, and the Goose Factory already has a huge user group, and the two swords are combined, and there is basically no defeat. Although he said it with a smile and said it tactfully, the meaning of the words was extremely tough. Mr. Ma looked at Chen Yi with a smile. He believed that this young man could understand. Chen Yi was disgusted. The blindness and ignorance of this frog at the bottom of the well were ridiculous. The Goose Factory has never been an opponent in Chen Yi's eyes. There is no opponent in this world at all. If Chen Yi lets go, as soon as the zombie world, the world of cultivating immortals, the world of science fiction, and the magic world come out, it will be works that will change the pattern of the industry, and even change the cultural industry in today's world. Even if you don't do this, the big dart in the previous life, crying far away, old rolling, wizard, give him love, which can't kill the Goose Factory in seconds. Looking at Mr. Ma's smiling face now, Chen Yi really can't be interested in chatting with him. "Mr. Ma, I don't know if you've finished eating. I still have something to do, so I won't send it." Mr. Ma smiled on his face and looked at Chen Yi incredulously. How many years have I not been so perfunctory? Who in this world now sees that he is not respectful, for fear of making himself unhappy? And what did you hear just now? I was sent off. Mr. Ma's eyes flashed, but there was still a smile on his face. It doesn't matter if Mr. Chen is young and vigorous, but some decisions should not be made randomly, otherwise it will not be good for the people behind you to know and be blamed. On the one hand, Mr. Ma is sarcastic that Chen Yi is just a worker, and on the other hand, he also wants to set a set of Chen Yi's tone to see if he can know whose support is behind it. However, Chen Yi didn't bother to pay attention to him at all, and yawned and said, "What Mr. Ma said makes sense. Xiao Ning, open the door and send Mr. Ma." Mr. Ma's chi cultivation kung fu was almost broken, but he still maintained the demeanor of the big guy, and said with a smile, "Okay, young man, by the way, there will be a new game in the Swan Factory in a few days. Remember to support it when the time comes." Leaving this sentence, Mr. Ma left. Chen Xiaoning said indignantly, "Brother, this person is too hateful. If we don't follow him, will we have to be eliminated?" "Silly girl, get rid of him. You're exalting him too much. It's good if we don't destroy him." That night, the Goose Factory released a game announcement. Self-developed domestic games, new game settings, and the most cutting-edge game engine innovation, Zombie Fireline, has created an unprecedented shooting experience for many zombie fans. Along with the announcement, there is also a video that is said to be a demonstration of the actual machine, which is still a competitive game, with a zombie on one side and an army on the other. It's the so-called things in the actual demo that are really familiar. The modeling of those characters is very similar to Wensai Chusheng Awei. The zombies are all based on the zombie world, and there is also the gameplay of biting and contagion, and there are kryptonite element daggers for money swords, mahogany swords, etc. The most speechless thing is the so-called map, which is exactly the same as the town in the zombie world, and even the roadside vendors don't change. This advertisement quickly occupied the space on major platforms. It has caused widespread heated discussions for a while, and everyone has long heard of the operation of the Goose Factory, and it is not surprising that there will be a zombie-based game this time, but it is shocking that this copy is so thorough. Many anchors of bullfighting saw it when they logged in, but everyone still has to mix in China. It's not good to diss this game publicly. Idiographic period. But the fans have no scruples. This damn familiarity, I thought it was on the Zombie World expansion, but it turned out to be from the Goose Factory, phew. The routine operation of the Goose Factory, look at this speed, it should be urgently changed to the work to be completed in the previous development, but the frame drops visible to the naked eye, hey. Don't say anything else, I'm quite excited to get a peachwood sword for the first 60 charges, ha ha ha. Independent plagiarism and research and development, what is the next step to find out the opponent? Stinky and shameless. Boycott boycott. Maybe the rebellious psychology for many years, and the Goose Factory's release is mostly scolded, but the Goose Factory still doesn't care. Because they have long grasped the psychological characteristics of some people. Although, Zombie World is good, it can't make most people manifest in front of them. But competitive games are different, it is not too easy to satisfy those vanities. Technology can't be kryptonite, there is always something to satisfy. All Mr. Ma is very confident that the launch of the game this time will definitely turn things around. At the same time, Chen Yi also released a game announcement, saying that the new expansion, Phantom, has been launched, as long as players who pass the game can load it by themselves, seamlessly connecting the game. The announcement, while simple and colloquial, caused an uproar as soon as it was released. The Zombie World expansion has been registered. Netizens exploded in an instant, although there is only one person who has cleared the customs now, but everyone is also worried that their progress is too fast. What if the game passes without a sequel? What a painful thing to wait. Now there is no need to worry at all. It was only a few minutes after the announcement was issued, and the comment area exploded. Uncle is such a gentle person, so considerate. Oh my god, what is it this time? My apprenticeship is so long. I don't dare to play now, I'm afraid that Uncle 9 will be played to death by me, and then I'll really emo. Uncle, this is trying to fight against the Goose Factory, we support you. Upstairs, you said the opposite, it's the Goose Factory that plans to touch porcelain. When the Phantom expansion was not announced before, the comment area of the Goose Factory was still one-sided, until after the announcement of Phantom, people began to wash the floor, and the people who sang the decline on Orange's side also appeared one after another. As if premeditated, a large number of trolls rammed into the internet, and various articles criticizing Zombie World were endless. Many fans of Orange are already furious, and they are fighting with those water armies who are just bad money. It's rare that there is a world-leading game in China, just because it's not a Goose Factory, so you have to be excluded. Many netizens even advocated that Orange should sue the Goose Factory for plagiarism, and the call is getting higher and higher. Seeing that the situation was getting more and more intense, Chen Yi still came out to say a few words. I don't care how big it is. In an instant, all the netizens who came out to shout injustice quieted down. It's still the eldest brother's anger, indeed, there's no need to argue about this at all, it's a waste of time, it's better to push the plot quickly. The prohibitive action here still made the Navy punch the cotton. Goose Factory, Chairman's Office. Mr. Ma, the release of the new game has been arranged, and the launch time is 3 days later. The head of the Content Planning Department reported. Well, what about the infiltration of phantoms? Manpower has also been arranged, and all employees of the company must clear Zombie World, and then download Phantom to play. Well, remember, don't worry about anything new, copy it down first, and we'll use it in the next game. Mr. Ma smoked a cigar and looked out the window and said. The person in charge hesitated a little, and said after considering the words, yes, but Mr. Ma, now everyone is a little complaining. The office is basically a fan of Zombie World, and it may be rebellious if they do this. Mr. Ma turned around when he heard this, snuffed out the cigar in the ashtray, and said with a nonchalant smile, what's this? give me a bonus increase, as long as you can copy high-quality things. Money is not a problem. Yes. The person in charge was also full of surprise. Go down, remember, copy me hard. Mr. Ma watched the person in charge go out expressionlessly, but in his mind was the contempt of Chen Yi's kid before. Boy, you want to fight me, but you're still a little tender. Because of the sudden release of Phantom, it aroused the passion of all players, and everyone wanted to quickly give over this novice village, and then experience the outside world well. So on the night of the announcement, it happened to be Friday night, and the entire bullfighting live broadcast room was crowded with huge traffic. The boss of the bullfight couldn't stop laughing. Traffic means money, and I have to thank Zombie World. I also reciprocated the adjustment of the platform. Reduce the pressure on the server, give the beautiful anchors of other channels to go, and all serve the live game of Zombie World. Tonight, only play Zombie World thanks to the previous clearance video of Tomato. Everyone finally saw through the main story, and all the clues puzzle pieces were completed piece by piece, and now, they're all playing the game from God's perspective. So after knowing the problems they faced in the end, everyone was a lot more relaxed. Then the various genres began to exert their strength, trying to set off towards the end. The little Taoist priest is still steady, advancing step by step through the apprenticeship, but he has learned the lesson of the tomato, and he is simply persistent in dealing with the female ghost, and when the scene between Chusheng and the female ghost is in place, he took the ninth uncle to stir it up, and worked together to kill the female ghost in the house. Although this hidden danger was eliminated, it did make Chusheng's favorability drop directly to 0, and the two turned their faces, so that the final battle was extremely difficult, and they read the file countless times. In addition to these, there are many players who also play their own brains, and some of them go directly to the mountain to dig up the grave of old lady Ren when Uncle Nine went to the tea house to drink tea the next day. Many netizens had to give a thumbs up and shout a cow when they saw it. However, the result is also obvious. As soon as a local squire like the Ren family gets angry, coupled with the help of Captain Ah Wei, he basically can't survive the next day. Of course, there are also those who choose to become zombies. Well, a 50% success rate is enough to brush off a large number of people, and those who survive also absorb the mistakes of tomatoes, and many people have played the ending of full survival. On this night, the number of people who cleared the customs had reached several hundred. However, the most eye-catching and shocking of them has to be Chen Xiaoning. She fully showed everyone what is called a speedrun game. Originally, Chen Xiaoning had little confidence in her progress, but Chen Yi's words still aroused her desire to win. Open the live broadcast room directly to do it. Just when everyone was following the path of others in the past, Chen Xiaoning was biased. She was very proud to have come back again. In the past, players didn't have much doubt about the appearance of old lady Ren, because Uncle Nine had already gone to find the feng shui treasure that day, so there was no one in Yizhuang. Even if some players know that there will be zombies that night, they don't dare to stay in Yizhuang. Isn't this looking for death? But Chen Xiaoning didn't know which tendon in his brain was twitching, so he wanted to take a look. Yes, this time I saw the scene of the old lady Ren breaking the coffin, and he died once. However, Chen Xiaoning was not discouraged. Since he knew the situation, it was easy to say, just prescribe the right medicine. So when he came for the second time, Chen Xiaoning stopped Uncle Nine alive, hoping that he would not leave that day, but where would Uncle Nine listen to this little girl? The affairs of the Ren family are also a big deal, so it is better to bury them early. Chen Xiaoning had no choice but to retreat and let her come back quickly, just when she thought that this time it was stable, but although Uncle Nine came back, he couldn't stop the zombie in a hurry, and he was run away, and the plot after that was almost the same. Master Ren was still killed. After going around in a circle, there was no change, and Chen Xiaoning was also a little distressed. Could it be that there is something wrong with the coffin? Otherwise, why would it still come out even though the ink fountain was played? With this question, Chen Xiaoning read the file for the third time. This time, I directly apprenticed, and then supervised when Wen Kai Chusheng was playing the coffin, and sure enough, I found the problem. These two unreliable guys actually missed the bottom of the coffin because they were naughty. Now the truth was revealed. All the sailors were in a trance for a few seconds and then scolded. So the problem is here. I always thought that Uncle Nine underestimated the strength of this zombie. I owe Uncle Nine an apology. Why don't you look stupid at me? Would it be nice to patch under the coffin? This. The details of the eldest brother are not done. I knew that this was the reason. I cleared the customs a few days ago. This should be a hidden ending. It's so awesome. Goosebumps are up. It's only been a few hours now. This should be the fastest way to clear the level. Speedrun. The sailors were boiling, admiring Chen Xiaoning's terrifying insight ability, and being able to knock the old lady's corpse over and over again. This is really not something that ordinary female players can do. Gifts are coming up in waves. Without any hesitation, Chen Xiaoning immediately reported it to Uncle Ju, and Uncle Ju knew the seriousness of the matter when he saw it, and immediately scolded Wen Kaichusheng and asked them to play the bottom honestly. Even so, Chen Xiaoning still felt uneasy. After all, he was frightened by old lady Ren before. I personally went out and made a bag of glutinous rice, sprinkled it around the coffin to block the corpse gas, and then asked Uncle Nine for several corpse talismans to come out, and directly pasted all around the coffin. If it weren't for Uncle Ju to stop him, Chen Xiaoning would have wanted to directly get some chicken blood and black dog blood to pour on it. For this reason, Uncle Nine also praised her with a few words of appreciation. Very discreet, not bad. There was no movement in the coffin that night. The next day, Uncle Nine went out. Chen Xiaoning found an excuse not to go, and stayed in front of the coffin alone to star. Netizens are also curious to see if the ending is hidden. It depends on tonight's performance. At midnight, the coffin shook violently. Chen Xiaoning held the peachwood sword tightly with both hands. His heart was beating fast, and he quickly picked up a small bucket of glutinous rice next to him and splashed it at any time. The coffin board was slowly stretched open by the great force, as if it was about to crack at any moment. An ugly zombie hand slowly stretched out, but in an instant, the ink fountain pattern in the talisman glowed slightly, and the old lady's hand shrank back as if it had been burned and smoked. This time it was even more infuriating, and it slammed into the coffin frantically, and the loud sound spread far away in the dark night. At a certain moment, Chen Xiaoning thought that the zombies were coming out, but he still did not break through when he was in danger. And then, it was dawn. Looking at Uncle Nine and Wensai Chusheng who walked in outside the door, Chen Xiaoning didn't know why, and suddenly wanted to cry. This damn old lady Ren finally doesn't have to come out to hurt people anymore. The next thing went well. Uncle Nine took the Ren family to the new cemetery, and then buried the old lady Ren according to the burial ceremony, and the matter was over. That night, the Ren family held a banquet, and Chen Xiaoning looked at the scene full of friends, and a sense of pride arose. Yes, I saved it. I'm a genius. The picture freezes again, the soundtrack begins, and the subtitles appear. The game is perfectly cleared, produced by Orange Yi Studio. Chen Xiaoning breathed a sigh of relief and looked at the subtitles for a long time. Netizens also sighed. I didn't expect to be cleared like this. The tragic ending of Tomato really made me lose my spirit for a few days, and now Xiaoning's perfect ending has saved me. The game can still be played like this. This design, cowbatch. Brother. I've finally cleared the customs. It's still the fastest way to clear the customs. Ha ha ha. The perfect ending. How? Chen Xiaoning was happy like a child after taking off his helmet, bouncing around Chen Yi. This kind of satisfaction hasn't been over for many years, although it's not as ups and downs as everyone played before. But it's also her genre. Ideographic period. Chen Xiaoning decided to give his genre a name. It's called The Speed of the Stream. How about the brother? Chen Yi rubbed his sister's long hair and smiled. Not bad, yes, worthy of being my sister. Of course, your sister and I are professional gamers. Looking at her smug appearance, Chen Yi was also quite happy. What was the purpose of developing the game? And she seemed to find a different promise in this smile. Brother, your sister, I am the fastest on the whole network. Is there a reward? Chen Xiaoning asked triumphantly. I originally wanted to give her a burst of chestnuts, but seeing her appearance, Chen Yi's heart softened, and said with a smile. There is no reward, but I can give you a clue to the new expansion, and you will be surprised if you find it. Surprise? What is it? Asked Chen Xiaoning with his hands crossed and his eyes shining. Zijin gossip money. The shape is 8-sided, and the front is the gossip text, and there is only one in the game. Chen Yi said with a smile. Gossip money. Equipment. What can you do? Do you ward off evil spirits? Chen Xiaoning wondered. No, 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 it's much more awesome than that, you'll find it. This is a small Easter egg made by Chen Yi, mainly to help players solve some problems. Chen Xiaoning was confused when he heard it, but he had already memorized this thing, and he was going to look for it after a while. United States, ET headquarters. When Chen Xiaoning's game recording appeared, the gameplay of speedrunning suddenly made many game developers feel enlightened. Even though game manufacturers have been working on this game like crazy lately, it's like a never-ending treasure that can never be dug up. That's right, you can make some of these things to enrich the gameplay. After figuring it out, it was a little gloomy. Zombie world is like a mountain in front of them, which can never be crossed, and the more you study people, the more desperate you become. Hidden elements, hidden plots, speedrun gameplay, branching multiple endings, etc. No matter which one is taken out, it can give the game a lot of highlights all day long, and maximize the satisfaction of all players' ideas. Before any of this has been discussed, the new game expansion, Phantoms, is here. The employees looked at the announcement made by Chen Yi, and their faces were too melancholy. Why did the industry suddenly become like this? Today, everyone sat in the office and watched Chen Xiaoning's speedrun video over and over again. It's very difficult for us Westerners to play this game, and now this kind of play seems to be a blessing for us. An old zombie player was not reconciled. Now the indicators above are getting higher and higher, thinking that we can make the same in the next game, but is this possible? 10 years won't be enough, another employee chimed in. After saying that, everyone sighed deeply. I'm still looking forward to Phantom, I've already cleared it, and I'll try to see what new content is when I go back. An Asian employee said with anticipation on his face. By the way, what about the new game of the Goose Factory? Don't you need to pay attention to it? It is said that it is still based on the reference of Zombie World, which is the first wave of popularity. No, it's just that virtue. Even such a garbage demonstration of the actual machine can be taken out. It seems that there is no one in Shaguo except Chen Yi. Ha ha ha, too. The topic of the Goose Factory is not worth mentioning at all, and it is a joke in the eyes of industry leaders. By the way, this year's Game League Awards. Suddenly, one of the developers said as if remembering something, a little embarrassed. The Game Alliance Awards, it's an industry award that was just established last year. Founded by the two big game countries of the United States and FUSO. It's the highest award in the game industry. Although it's only been held once. But according to the convention, the best game will be selected every year. Ideographic period. Don't hesitate, no one will have a show this year. The spicy game is already welded to the podium, just waiting for the time to receive the award, and I'm sure that if you change to another game, those fans will definitely turn the venue upside down. Yes, but I think, well, we don't seem to be qualified to judge, we don't even know his technology and development ideas, how to evaluate, what do you say when the time comes? A veteran employee who was one of the few people who went to the review on behalf of the company last time was holding a few hairs in distress. If it's him this time, I couldn't believe the picture. The latest technology. What technology do you use when asked by the media? What kind of technology do you use? Alien technology. Hey, I also think that the generation gap is too big, all of our operations are gone all of a sudden. Can we ask him to give awards to all of our manufacturers? It seems. Nor is it. No, you can't. Everyone. I'm so unwilling. Similar discussions are frequent among game manufacturers in the United States and FUSO. In front of Chen Yi, who was born out of nowhere, everyone suddenly had little confidence in the game empire he had created. The domestic goose factory, pig factory, and rice factory are okay. After all, they can't mix with the international circle, just make money. Bullfighting live. After last night's Friday carnival night, today's heat is still unabated. Without him, it's Saturday after a night's rest, and it's strange that everyone has a holiday and doesn't continue to work on new expansions, so there are many streamers who have cleared the customs early in the morning and are ready to show their talents. Chen Xiaoning also finished eating early, turned around warmly, and prepared to spend it on it today, to see if he could create last night's glory. The fans in the live broadcast room have been waiting for a long time, and they saw her show up on time to send the warmest gift welcome. This is basically the etiquette that the founders of every genre get. At this time, the broadcast had just started, and the popularity of the live broadcast room exceeded 1 million, Chen Xiaoning said happily. Thank you brothers for the gifts. Today we started to play the expansion, Phantom. Haha, Xiao Ningzi, hurry up and stop talking nonsense. Xiao Ningzi, can you still speed up today? Let's see. Did my uncle reveal something to you? Isn't this game terrifying? We're all waiting for you to lie down first, ha ha ha. Chen Xiaoning is helpless. It seems that everyone is impressed by the speedcom, but who can play the game for the first time, God. Alright, I can't speed run today, and the game hasn't been figured out yet. Let's start the game. I asked my brother, this expansion has more ghosts, I'm looking forward to it. Chen Xiaoning clicked on the icon as he spoke, loading the DLC into the game. The screen went black, and then slowly lit up. Chen Xiaoning found that he was still in Uncle Ju's yard, and a line of subtitles appeared in his line of sight. The game map has been updated. Yo-hee, it's really expanding the map. Chen Xiaoning couldn't help but nod with satisfaction. Brothers, since the map has been refreshed, let's go and see what new changes there are. Chen Xiaoning walked around the house, but he didn't find the figures of Uncle Nine and Wensai Chusheng, and he didn't know where he went. Hop on an old-fashioned bike and ride along the trail. At this time, it was already evening, and it was still a familiar street and a familiar town, but most pedestrians on the road would greet Chen Xiaoning when they saw her, and a few ladies sent her some delicious food to taste. The enthusiasm was incomparable, which made Chen Xiaoning a little stunned. Could it be that my secret elimination of Old Lady Ren was exposed, and my identity as an unknown hero couldn't be hidden? At first, I was a little confused, but I didn't understand until I came out of their mouths. Uncle Nine is the most prestigious person in this town, and of course everyone has to give face to his newly accepted female disciples, and this little girl looks so cute. There's even a damn matchmaker who stopped her and asked about marriage. Chen Xiaoning is considered to be stained, but these details in the game still make Chen Xiaoning feel warm. This town is like her home, warm and simple. Now that the map has been expanded, Chen Xiaoning didn't stay long, and he wanted to ride a bicycle to take a look outside. Hee, you can go out of town in that direction, and I don't know what you'll encounter when you walk out of the novice village. A good day starts when you walk out of the novice village, Chen Xiaoning said excitedly. There are a few forks in the road after the town and country road. Chen Xiaoning used the method of, I will choose whoever the little rooster points to, and chose a road with good scenery, surrounded by rice fields, and everyone who saw it yearned. Not long after riding out, the sky became dark, the country road was already difficult to walk, and the pedestrians became more and more scarce. Chen Xiaoning began to beat the drum in his heart. Look at my brain. I should have come out during the day. Chen Xiaoning wanted to turn around and leave, but thinking that he had already walked such a long distance, he was a little unwilling, and there might be other villages ahead. As soon as I thought about it, I saw a fire flickering in front of me, but it looked like it was in the jungle. Chen Xiaoning immediately sped up and rushed over. As the distance narrowed, it became clear that it was a few simple cloaks. A few people gathered around the bonfire. There were men, women and horses, and then look at their costumes, a bit of a minority feeling, but the wind and food were very shabby. Maybe it's a caravan, ethnic minorities go into the town to buy things? Anyway, someone Chen Xiaoning was relieved, and it was said that this kind of person was still very helpful, so he stopped the car and walked towards them. Sorry to bother, I'm lost here. Can I take a break here? Ah yes. Do you know where this is? Chen Xiaoning greeted with his trademark energetic beautiful girl smile. But everyone didn't answer. Everyone looked at the woman who was the leader, who should be the one who spoke. Chen Xiaoning saw that they were all women, so it was even better. He wanted to go to the campfire to warm up by the way, and look at what meat they seemed to be roasting. It smelled good, just enough to replenish some stamina. But before I got close, there was a foul smell, like a stinky salted fish that hadn't been bathed for dozens of days, and there was a trace of blood, and I almost vomited. The body odor of these people is too heavy. Chen Xiaoning's footsteps stopped, and he lost all his appetite for a while. As a person with a slight cleanliness habit, where can I stand it? After thinking about it, let's slip away, it's too smelly. Chen Xiaoning said embarrassedly and politely. Ahahaha, I suddenly remembered, I'd better go first, so I won't bother. After saying that, he turned around and left. At this moment, there was an emotionless conversation behind him. Is this woman okay? Yes. Chen Xiaoning was shocked when he heard this. What is going on? Before she could think clearly, a sharp pain hit her chest, and Chen Xiaoning looked down to see that a small blade had passed through her back and stabbed out of her chest. Wang Defa, what kind of trouble are you doing? Energetic beautiful girls are all killed. Chen Xiaoning shuddered. Beads of sweat rolled down her forehead, her vision began to darken, and she heard something behind her that seemed to be crawling on her, and the number sounded like a lot. At the moment before the screen was about to go black, Chen Xiaoning saw that his wounds were full of cockroaches, centipedes, spiders, maggots and other things that made people's scalps numb. No. Chen Xiaoning collapsed on his deathbed. You're dead. Game failed. I'm going to block the road and kill people. Is this a bandit? Tut tut. The ancients have long reminded you that snow can't reach bridges, and you can't enter the forest at night. It's not that simple. How can there be bandits who do so many strange poisonous insects? At first glance, what kind of warlock or something? Will it be the same as the previous Dong Xiaoyu, a ghost? Xiaoningza is so unlucky, a choice is a dead end. I don't know if you can see it clearly, they are roasted on the bonfire, it looks like human limbs. I hope I saw it wrong, it's too scary. I'm so scared of cockroaches and spiders and stuff like that. If these guys are on me, I can jump up and shake my hands. Again, let's choose another way. Careless, energetic, beautiful girl. Can you kill it back? But only a dozen or 20 people, dogheads. Just now, many netizens were also taken aback by those sudden situations, but at this time, they could only use words to save their respect. Playing, you can't play for the time being, or can't you wait to figure out the situation and then play calmly? Chen Xiaoning is still covered in goosebumps, his entire back is soaked with sweat, and his teeth are constantly chattering. You must know that this game has the most realistic tactile feedback. Just imagine, those multi-legged poisonous insects crawling on clothes, crawling on the skin, that subtle touch is simply explosive. Thinking of the situation just now, Chen Xiaoning's ears, nose, and tongue were a little itchy and painful. This is something that the energetic girl Chen Xiaoning can bear. Evil brothers, kill me and never go to that part of the road again, it will kill me. You don't believe yourself to experience it. Do you have dense phobia? Now let's do it again, I'll go another way. Re-entering the game, Chen Xiaoning was a lot more cautious, and before leaving, he still ran to the house to find a weapon to carry on his back, but only found a peachwood sword. Continuing on the road, this time Chen Xiaoning chose another one without hesitation at the fork in the road. It's just that the original good mood is gone. However, this time it was a smooth road, although the sky was also dark, but there were no other problems. Chen Xiaoning couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. There shouldn't be any problems with this road, brothers. You see there's a small town over there, haha, that's right. In the distance of Chen Xiaoning's vision, a small town appeared, which did not look much smaller than the previous town. Could it be that the plot of the Phantom game takes place in this town? Let's go over and take a look. I have to say that the map of this game is really big. Soon, Chen Xiaoning arrived at the entrance of the town. The town was called Tungtang Town, but the whole town was terrifyingly quiet. Chen Xiaoning looked around and found that there was no half of a person, and the whole town was desolate, with collapsed houses and messy streets, like a deserted village. What the hell is going on? Chen Xiaoning parked the car aside, and was dumbfounded as soon as he walked in. The debris on the street was coffins and bones, some animals, but most of them were human, and several of them looked fresh, with flesh on the bones and flies spread on them like black cloth. As soon as Chen Xiaoning walked by, he buzzed, and stirred up a blockbuster and swarmed over. No, it's disgusting. This doesn't look like a good place. It can't be a plague town. It is said that there were a lot of such things before. Let's go back. Chen Xiaoning took 3 steps and made 2 steps and ran back. At this moment, the sky turned dark, and there was a bang sound in the town. Chen Xiaoning turned his head to see that all the coffin lids had been blown open. The zombies sleeping in the coffin also ran out, and a rough calculation showed at least 24 of them. Mom, what the hell is this place? Chen Xiaoning was about to cry. In the past, an old lady abused all the players so badly, and now there are so many. Is it to go to heaven? All the zombies smelled the breath of Chen Xiaoning's body, jumped on their feet, and chased after her. Chen Xiaoning had already run to the entrance of the town and wanted to ride a bicycle to run, but the crossbar and leather seat in the middle of this old-fashioned bicycle were particularly high, and he needed to push and jump on it a few times. But Chen Xiaoning was in a hurry, and he could already hear the gasping sound of the zombies behind him, so he couldn't jump up. His face was pale, and his whole body was nervous like a string full of bows, which would break if he was not careful. The sailors are more anxious than her. This stereo surround sound is too exciting. Run. Don't stop. Damn, I'm going to take some blood pressure medicine, I can't stand it. Did I hear me wrong? I feel like zombies are roaring in my ears. Don't chase it, we don't have a rush to syrup. Chen Xiaoning saw that he couldn't pedal, so he directly left the bicycle behind him and ran away without looking back. I don't know how long I ran, until I tripped over a section of tree roots. Chen Xiaoning lost his balance and rolled down the grassy slope to a plantain forest on the side of the road. Chen Xiaoning saw that there were no zombies on the road behind him, so he lay on the ground with peace of mind, panting heavily. Two. I'm tired, I want to go home. As soon as the words fell, the banana forest behind her seemed to move. Chen Xiaoning turned around, and a red ribbon floated from nowhere, strangled her neck, and dragged her towards the banana forest. Then a few banana trees moved slowly, blocking them out, and everything was back to the way it was. You're dead. Game failed. Isn't it? Come again. Chen Xiaoning wanted to cry without tears. Why was he so unlucky? I just want to go out of the outside world to take a look, how to take one step and die one step. Can't I even get out of a novice village? Chen Xiaoning was beaten and shut up again, and there was a fork in the road left, and she wouldn't choose it anyway. Brothers, it's no good, I'll take a moment and prepare to settle accounts with my brother. Netizens are watching it with relish, and this is suddenly gone. Where can I stand it? Don't. Let's be on the air for a while. Yes, brothers, let's go. Sow it for a while, and walk the last road again. Hey, today's lying thunder indicator is not enough, Xiao Ningzi. Seeing that everyone refused to let her go, Chen Xiaoning was helpless, so she had to say, no, I died twice today, and I can't stand it if I die too much. But I'm not in the state today, I'm sorry everyone, why don't you put a message as collateral? What's the news? Asked netizens. My brother said, there is a hidden prop in the game, it is Zijin gossip money, and there will be a surprise if you find it. As for where it is, what kind of surprise, I don't know. As soon as everyone heard that it was the eldest brother who revealed it, they immediately paid attention to it. Zijin gossip money. Even the eldest brother said that he was surprised. So what effect would it have? Will it ward off evil spirits and keep it safe? For a while, the news of Zijin gossip money flowed out of the live broadcast room and spread all over the internet, and all players began to pay attention. While Chen Xiaoning was offline, the little Taoist priest on the other side was in full swing. There are also a lot of people in his live broadcast room, and they are all loyal players of the apprenticeship. Although the last time he cleared the customs was a bit difficult, and the relationship with Chusheng deteriorated, the little Taoist priest still followed his heart and insisted on walking the road without looking back, so he didn't read the file again. This time, after loading the expansion pack, he was still thinking about how to have a good relationship with Chusheng. After all, it is not good for a brother from a division to fall out. After entering the game, he was in his room. Pushing open the door, Uncle Nine was sitting in the courtyard basking in the sun, chatting with the four-eyed Taoist on the side. Chusheng was not there, and Wensai was basking in a book. Seeing that the little Taoist priest came out, Uncle Nine smiled and said, come and say hello to your uncle. The little Taoist priest had naturally seen it before, so he also gave a Taoist salute. Hello Uncle Shi. The four-eyed Taoist laughed, senior brother, your disciple is still a little capable, he was not cowardly at all when he dealt with zombies a few days ago, not bad. Uncle Nine was very happy when he heard others praise his apprentice, but he still didn't show it on the surface. There's still a lot to learn, Wensai. Bring those 2 books to your junior brother. The little Taoist priest was curious, he didn't know what Uncle Nine gave, and when Wen Kai took it over, he looked at the cover and was shocked. One is written, Mao Shan Evil Cure Secret Book, and the other is, Zombie Language. The little Taoist priest couldn't wait to look at it, and it was all about the suppression methods of the ghosts, including detoxification, GU cure, and the most important thing was to deal with zombies. The description of the zombie in it is also very detailed. What coffin can't be opened because of the corpse gas, absorbing the essence of the moon at night, sucking blood and becoming stronger, and even talking about using ink fountains to make up for the formation, suppressing the corpse charm and other methods, which is simply easy to understand. There are still many talismans in the back, and the little Taoist priest is shocked. If he can take this thing out before, it shouldn't be so difficult to deal with old lady Ren. As for the other one, it is a zombie language thing, which is a more single professional skill book. So when the little Taoist priest finished reading, the subtitle, Zombie Language Has Been Learned, popped up. Mao Shan Evil Cure Secret Book is a beginner secretary. You can understand it first. As for zombie language, I only found it when I was cleaning up. I didn't expect that I had this kind of book in my own collection. Uncle Nine said that he smiled unconsciously. The little Taoist is even more overjoyed. This is the reward for clearing the customs. Immeasurable, Yu Tianjun. It's so cool. Otherwise, your skills and means are always too few, and now you are one step closer to the heavenly master you imagined. More masters. The little Taoist priest hurriedly said gratefully. Go ahead, practice more to get acquainted. Uncle Nine nodded and said. Practice. The little Taoist priest understood. It seems that the low success rate of his own drawing talismans before may be the reason. It seems that not only reality is going to retreat. You also have to retreat and practice in the game. Senior brother, why don't you give me this apprentice? You have a literary talent, and I only have one apprentice in Jala, and I don't have a helper. The four-eyed Taoist said without hesitation. Uncle Ju, where is he willing? Compared with the little Taoist priest, his two unsuccessful disciples are a little worse, and I hope that those two evil disciples will be angry to death sooner or later. Junior brother, this thing is not exciting. You two still lack the fate of master and apprentice. Seeing Uncle Nine defending himself like this, the little Taoist priest was also grateful in his heart, and he couldn't help but think of the master who had been in retreat for a long time in reality. I don't know how the old boss is playing. I still have to go and see if I'm free. Don't be scared to death in the game when you're old. Ideographic period. Hey, I'm such a dutiful person. The sailors didn't expect that there was a secret skill of explosive equipment, and suddenly everyone's eyes turned red. Is there any specific condition that needs to be fulfilled, and why doesn't Xiao Ningza have it? I'm going to learn the zombie language in a second? It's so humane, but isn't it because you need proficiency? There are a lot of benefits for apprenticeship, praise. I think that the apprentice should worship when he meets people, and learn the secret method of chasing out corpses of the four-eyed Taoist. Then 6. Why didn't you see the Zijin gossip money? I'm in a hurry, I'm too curious about what it's for. The little Taoist priest originally wanted to go out of the town to explore, but now that he has these two books in hand, he is not in a hurry to leave the novice village for a while. It's good that he didn't go out, otherwise the ending wouldn't have been much better. Because the zombie language was learned, the little Taoist priest wanted to chat with a few zombies. According to the description of Mao Shan Evil Cure Secret Book, there are several types of zombies, including walking corpses, jumping corpses, hair stiffs, flying zombies, slurs, and the most powerful ones. Like Mrs. Ren, it belongs to the jumping corpse, and after sucking human blood, it becomes an unprovoked stiffness, and the bidden master Ren is a walking corpse, so he aimed at the customers brought by the four-eyed Taoist. Those should be the most ordinary jumping corpses. The little Taoist priest went directly to the morgue to have a look. At this time, a row of zombies was still standing motionless, with an altar in front of them, and the ever-bright lamp was still burning. To be on the safe side, the little Taoist priest still picked a relatively thin jumping corpse, and then took off his talisman at once. Because of the ever-bright light, the zombies still didn't riot, just looked at the little Taoist priest with their eyes open and stretched out their arms. The little Taoist priest took the zombie language and frowned and said, "Roar, roar, 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 roar." The zombie replied with a blank face. "Roar. The sailors are stupid. This strange scene makes everyone stunned, like two dumb people yelling at each other. If there are no subtitles, the sailors can't understand a syllable. The gist of it is, how are you? I'm fine, thanks. What about you? I'm fine too, thanks. How can I listen to this conversation and feel familiar? The little Taoist priest nodded with satisfaction, and pasted the talisman again. Sure enough, it can be communicated. This is at least the 6th level of zombie language. Looks like this skill is still very useful. Next, I began to study the talisman of Mao Shan's secret book of governing evil spirits, and this little Taoist priest was interested. When I returned to the room and began to flip through the book, there were really many types of talismans in the book, and the little Taoist priest looked at them one by one excitedly. After a while, people are a little speechless. Most of the books are talismans for peace, tranquilizers, meditation talismans and the like, as well as some talismans for healing diseases and eliminating disasters, all of which belong to passive skills, and there are only 2 that can be used as skill outputs. Zombie Charm and Exorcism Charm. The Corpse Suppression Talisman was already known, and the little Taoist priest looked at the Exorcism Talisman. The upper collar is 3 clear, the lower should be the soul, the sky is clear and the earth is clear, the 2 ancestral swords. Please move the gods. Mobilize the heavenly soldiers. The 3 fierce gods avoid. What ghosts just see. How to kill just dang. The sky is round and the place is round. The 9 chapters of the law. I write today, and 10,000 ghosts are hidden. This spell is pretty cool. The little Taoist priest couldn't wait to take out the tools, meditate and write. The first one, failure. The second, failed. Wait until the third one to be considered successful. I have learned to exorcise evil spirits. The little Taoist priest immediately cheered. He had already begun to fantasize that he was in danger in front of the evil spirit, and he threw out the dashing figure of the talisman casually. After spending some afternoon, the little Taoist priest successfully drew 4 exorcism charms and 5 corpse suppression charms. With these on his body, the little Taoist priest went out to find Uncle Ju. "Master, are there any ghosts around here? I want to practice my hands." Uncle Nine glanced at him and smiled. "What, do you think you can do it?" "Hee. How do you know if you don't try? 2 miles east of the town, there is a big family named 10 Million. His house has been haunted recently, and he has come to me. You can take the place of the master and I will go to see it." 10 Million? That's a weird name. Okay, I'll go over now. The little Taoist priest was so excited that he wanted to leave. "Wait, bring this thing on." When the little Taoist priest turned around, he saw Uncle Ju throwing over an item, and he took it and realized that it was a money sword. "This is Uncle Ju's treasure item. I didn't expect to leave it to myself." The little Taoist priest was very moved, and then walked away. The distance was not too far, and the little Taoist priest arrived just in time for dark. However, at this time, the gate of the Tan family was open, and there were people inside, which was very lively. "Salute first, then soldiers, you listen carefully. In Shamao Mountain, entrusted by Taishan 10 Million, clean up the portal." When the little Taoist priest walked into the door, he realized that there was already a Taoist person who was opening the altar, and the posture was vigorous and ornamental. "This is the 3rd Taoist priest I met in the game, and it's called Mao Shan Ming, and this one is from the Mao Shan faction. Could it be Uncle Nine's brother? If so, wouldn't the task of this game be simple?" However, the little Taoist priest looked at it for a while, and then he noticed that something was wrong. How could this guy be a god? In addition to the townhouse charm and townhouse money that he used at the beginning, there were 2 clicks, but the others were really sparse and ordinary. It's like a pier I see in the real world. After this guy threw the 2 umbrellas in, the house began to mess up, and all kinds of items were thrown out, as if the ghost was provoked. Mao Shanming was also angry, and used grapefruit water to open a ghost eye on the Tan family, splashed the little Taoist priest in the face by the way, and then went in with rice. Watching others catch ghosts is much more interesting, and the barrage keeps applauding. However, some people asked why they went in with rice. Fortunately, the little Taoist priest has studied Taoism for a few years, and he still understands some small knowledge, so he explained. Zibuyu said that ghosts are afraid of this. "Why are you afraid?" asked netizens. Maybe it has something to do with the god of grains." The little Taoist priest actually didn't know anything about it, so he had to go over. Sure enough, after Mao Shanming entered, 2 ghosts, one big and one small, appeared, which startled the Tan family, and then the 2 sides were inseparable, which was a bit stretching for everyone who was used to seeing Uncle Ju's clean and neat methods. "That's it, At most it's better than Wei. The ability is too watery, and it looks like he is about to be defeated by two ghosts. The little Taoist priest could have stood by and watched, but after all, now that he has the dragon-slaying skill, it is a good opportunity for him to appear in front of his own people. Under the surprised gaze of the Tan family, the little Taoist priest rushed into the house and took out two evil charms and slapped them on the backs of the two ghosts, one large and one small. Suddenly, the flames exploded, and the two ghosts were blown away by the power of the talisman and were seriously injured. Sailors blow up the pot. It's so handsome, it's a bit like Uncle Nine. Isn't this what I dreamed of? Apprenticeship is. The ghost slayer has applied to play. Mao Shanming, who was lying on the ground, was dumbfounded, looking at the little ghost who suddenly appeared and was speechless. Don't thank me. The little Taoist priest looked righteous and awe-inspiring, as if the red scarf on his chest, no, the talisman in his hand was even brighter. Thank you for being great. Right. Mao Shanming's expression was a little strange, and the little Taoist priest who looked at it frowned. What is the matter with this person? The reward is for you. I only kill ghosts, the little Taoist priest still explained. Killing ghosts? Mao Shanming's eyes widened, and he hugged the little Taoist priest at once. Don't. Ghosts are good friends of human beings. They can't be killed, and there is no injustice or hatred. The little Taoist priest was helpless. How could this person be divine? And after being dragged a few times, the two ghosts saw that something was wrong and ran away directly. Mao Shanming let go of his hand at this time, and then went to collect the money happily. The heavenly venerable of the infinite special mother, it's too evil. Xiao Dao's morale is going to die. The sailors also laughed crazy. I didn't expect this game to be so rich, even the scum in the Taoist industry has it. The little Taoist priest hasn't gone out yet, and he feels that the scene is still wrong. It's still so cold, it stands to reason that it shouldn't be. Has been practicing by Uncle Nine's side for so long, and he is still somewhat tainted with Uncle Nine's habits. The little Taoist priest took out the remaining two exorcism talismans and held them in his hands, looking around cautiously. I don't think it's right. What we've seen is a female ghost, Tan Wan said suspiciously outside the door. Suddenly, the wind in the courtyard was blowing, and the doors and windows were slamming wildly, as if to reflect his words. A female ghost in white slowly emerged. Frightened, the Tan family hurriedly pushed Mao Shanming in. Well, little fellow Taoist, how many charms do you have? Mao Shanming approached the little Taoist priest with a sad face and asked in a low voice. After what happened just now, the little Taoist priest was full of pride. Looking at the female ghost in white, he didn't care and said, there are two more. That's good, that's good. When Mao Shanming heard this, his confidence doubled, and he had two people and two evil charms, which was more than enough to deal with a ghost from time to time, so he shouted. Hey! Female ghosts, people live in yang houses. Ghosts live in yin. Why do you mess up yin and yang? When the female ghost heard this, she immediately became angry. I messed up yin and yang. If it weren't for this guy's viciousness, he pushed my family's cemetery and built a house on it. Would you be willing to change you? The little Taoist priest didn't expect this to happen, and he was unhappy all of a sudden. He didn't expect this to be such a thing, and his moral outlook didn't agree with him aiding and abusing. But if you are uncomfortable alone, you will make their whole family uncomfortable, which is too overbearing. Mao Shanming was still aggressive. I saw the female ghost smile disdainfully. I'm not the only one who is uncomfortable, but also my grandparents, father, mother, uncle and younger brother. Every time she said one, a ghost appeared, and when she finished speaking, the scene was densely filled with ghost shadows, and there were nearly a dozen of them. Mao Shanming immediately withered, and asked tremblingly. What, little Dao, you just said that you have a few evil charms? Two of them. The little Taoist priest was also stunned by the situation in front of him. The first time I left school in my life, I encountered such a big scene. This is the nest of a ghost. The little Taoist priest swallowed his saliva, and found that he was facing such a situation, and it seemed that there was no difference between him and Mao Shanming. Yo, big scene, haha, my uncle likes to do these unexpected things. If the little Taoist priest doesn't mention it, Uncle Nine shouldn't send a mission, and he may have to rely on map exploration to find it. I'll bet on a rocket. The little Taoist can't win. This female ghost is so beautiful, isn't it good to accept it? The whole room was cold and gloomy, and the little Taoist priest was a little shivering. Listen to my advice, I'll count 1, 2, 3, and run quickly, Mao Shanming said seriously with many years of industry experience. Okay. The little Taoist priest also listened to persuasion. A Dong Xiaoyu gave the little Taoist a headache before, but now there are so many, how can he finish the fight? Ready. 3. The little Taoist priest was still waiting, but Mao Shan ran away, and immediately scolded angrily. The people of the rivers and lakes are sinister, you are a 6. Dead friends don't die poor, Mao Shanming said disapprovingly. The two of them just ran 2 steps, and were blocked by 3 of the ghosts. The little Taoist threw out 2 talismans, and blew them up with a bang. Mao Shanming took out a gossip mirror from his pocket, and repelled the ghosts with a photo. If you have a magic weapon, you should have taken it out earlier, the little Taoist priest said angrily. Compared to this old silver coin, he was like an innocent little white. The two fled to the door and slammed it into it, but it was too strong to break. The ghosts in the back have come up. I saw the female ghost's hair flicked, and the little Taoist's back suddenly opened flesh, and he screamed in pain. Mao Shanming has been raised by the ghost hand and thrown around. I'll go, it's so ruthless. The little Taoist priest was also angry, and turned over his hand and took out the money sword given by Uncle Ju. However, even if the money sword is in his hand, the little Taoist priest will not use it, he can only hold it and slash it randomly. The effect is quite significant, and those ghosts will be injured as long as they take a hit. But Nima has too many ghosts, and he can't swing it at all, but he is hit by so many ghost hands. In the end, the two were thrown out of the house in great embarrassment, and the little Taoist priest wanted to go up again, but he was pulled by Mao Shanming and ran. Don't do it, we can't beat it, I'm not reconciled. When the Tan family saw that so many ghosts in the house had come out, they were so frightened that they all ran away. Just as everyone ran out of the door, the female ghost waved her hand, and the door closed instantly. Considered to have escaped death, the little Taoist sat panting on the side of the road. I almost had to read the file. I've already driven away 2 ghosts. Why are there so many? Said the little Taoist priest in annoyance. Ahem, actually, those 2 ghosts. It's mine, Mao Shanming said embarrassedly. The little Taoist priest looked at him in shock. Raise ghosts. Mao Shanming coughed twice, and the 2 ghosts, one big and one small, came out, hiding behind Mao Shanming in fear, and Mao Shanming opened the umbrella and directly collected the ghosts. The little Taoist priest wanted to scold the evil devil, but with a twitch of his eyes, he saw that the entire barrage was actually boiling. Ask how to raise ghosts. I've long wanted to raise a few female ghosts who are as beautiful as flowers. Now there is a lack of relevant Taoism. Ask. I'll brush you 10 rockets. Donors, it's not good to raise ghosts, the little Taoist priest said earnestly to the barrage. Mao Shanming thought he was talking about him, and suddenly said embarrassedly, it's just a mess. The little Taoist priest didn't want to talk to this deviated layman now, and was ready to go back. Are you going to Renjia town? Let's go together? So the two of them hit the road like this. 2 miles were not long, and they arrived soon. As soon as I entered the town, I saw Captain Ah Wei directing the women and children in the village to run away, and the scene was chaotic. The little Taoist priest was curious. Captain Ah Wei, what happened? As soon as Ah Wei saw the little Taoist priest coming back, he hurriedly said, the horse thief is here. Now Uncle Nine is ambushing the villagers over there, you go and help. What, horse thief? The little Taoist priest was shocked, there was actually a horse thief. Walk through the town to the great woods, where the horse thieves are already being contained. The little Taoist priest took a closer look, stunned. The scene was blood red, countless villagers fell to the ground and wailed, and the flames rose all around, like purgatory. There are not many horse thieves, more than a dozen, but each of them is extremely strong, and Wensai Chusheng is fighting with horse thieves on the other side. Ren Ting did not fall behind, and was bandaging the injured villagers. The little Taoist priest picked up a knife, which was dripping with blood, and he was stunned when he saw it. To be on or not to be on? Immeasurable Tianjun, Lao Su is a Taoist priest. It doesn't matter if you kill ghosts and zombies, but killing people is a broken ring. And this game is too real. Watching the villagers being suppressed and falling down one by one, the little Taoist's eyes are red. Damn, break the vows today. Fuck the little Taoist priest shouted heartbreakingly and rushed up. Without any hesitation, he directly raised a knife and slashed at the back of one of the horse thieves. This knife was almost exhausted, and the little Taoist priest could already imagine the scene of chopping pork in his mind. Can't help but close your eyes. As a result, there was a crisp sound of ding, and the knife was broken into 3 sections. The little Taoist priest and the sailors in the live broadcast room burst into foul language in unison. With all his strength, he couldn't resist with a knife, and the little Taoist really didn't expect it. It angered the horse thief, and I saw the horse thief turn around and kick it, and the middle path was long in the abdomen. This feeling is like being hit by a high-speed motorcycle, and the little Taoist priest flies out and falls into the bushes. I'll go. This kick is too heavy, I almost finished the trail. The little Taoist priest sat up with a painful face holding his stomach. Come on, little Taoist. This gang of horse thieves should be the kind that Chen Xiaoning encountered before, very evil, you have to be careful. Do you want to use the corpse talisman? It can't be a zombie? The little Taoist priest really didn't believe it, so he picked up a fallen knife and rushed forward. When the horse thief saw that he dared to rush, he smiled disdainfully, stretched out his hand to block the chopping knife, and swung his right fist towards the little Taoist priest's chin, and the little Taoist priest had to take a step back and dodge. But the horse thief saw that he had experienced 100 battles, and he stuck to it in a staggered pace, followed by a punch and hit the little Taoist priest in the stomach. After scoring twice, the trail staggered back a few steps and knelt directly. No, I'm really not good at hand and footwork. The little Taoist priest was the latest to get started, and his hand and foot kung fu was only practiced for a few years, and he spent more time majoring in Taoist books. When encountering such a battle-hardened bandit, there is no power to parry. A sense of powerlessness rises from the bottom of my heart. Taoism has a tradition of going down the mountain in troubled times, so the people of this sect have more or less compassion, and seeing the familiar villagers in front of them being slaughtered and unable to do anything about it has too much impact on Daoxin. The little Taoist priest's tears fell unconsciously. The sailors in the live broadcast room understand the feeling of the little Taoist priest very well. After all, everyone lives in a peaceful era, and they can't see these at all, and whoever experiences this game will have a good impression of this simple town. I was still communicating a few days ago, and I died in front of me in the past few days. Who can stand it? Everyone spoke of encouragement. Don't be afraid. Let's go find Uncle Nine first. Uncle Nine has a way. Uncle Nine was over there to check on the injured, and I saw it. Growing up in blood and fire, this game is really amazing. The importance of peace is only known in times when human lives are at stake. The little Taoist priest wiped his tears and stood up, and his originally immature face became resolute. I'm small, I can't beat you, you wait, I'll call someone. Everyone was still a little confused, and they saw that the little Taoist priest resolutely quit the game. What are you doing here? Everyone was a little surprised. Call someone. What is it called? This is a game, little Taoist. After a while, the game restarted, and although the characters were still the same, the voice of the mouth was completely different. Huh? Where is this? Little junior brother, this is the game you were talking about. Why is it so realistic? But I'm killing people. Where am I? What am I going to do? I'll go. The guy in front is so fierce. He rushed over. He was holding an axe in his hand to cut me. Should I hide? Okay, I understand. I'll kill him right away. No, overtake him. After a series of inexplicable self-questions and answers, Xiao Daocheng's eyes changed and became a little fanatical. Before the horse thief could make a move, he was hit by an iron mountain by the little Taoist priest, and then connected to the top elbow and knocked the horse thief away in one fell swoop. Then Lasuo closed his fist and stood upright, quite a feeling of hiding his merit and fame. The eyes of all the sailors in the live broadcast room widened, and they didn't understand why the little Taoist priest changed in an instant, like a master of national arts. Although he flew his opponent up, the little Taoist's awe-inspiring posture did not last long, and he bared his teeth and shouted in the next second. It's so hard, this guy's skin is like armor, it hurts me to death, and besides, I am too unaccustomed to using your body. Ah, ahem. I'm sorry donors, I'm the senior brother of the little Taoist, and I have been focusing on martial arts for many years. Woohoo. Can you still do this? Pull for an aid. No wonder I just said that I was going to call someone, it turned out to be this name. I'm stupid, this operation blinds my dog's eyes. 666, the senior brother is mighty, but the senior brother is Taoist. Why is he practicing Bajiquan? The change of identity did not dislike netizens, but sounded the warmest welcome. I haven't finished this game yet, so I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, although I have dabbled in all kinds of martial arts, but Bajiquan is the most familiar with it, and I have won several national championships. Seeing that the horse thief stood up again, the little Taoist picked up the knife, danced a few knife flowers, and rushed out with a confident face. I just haven't been able to practice but can't fight, and now it's time to test the strength of my sword competition champion. Look at me chopping knife, machete, flirting knife, hanging knife, stabbing knife, chopping knife, snatching knife, turning knife, knife fatal, With the little Taoist priest holding a machete to dance the tiger and the tiger, it really made everyone's eyes shine. Every knife move is brave and fierce, majestic. At a glance it is hard work, it is daunting. Netizens suddenly increased their confidence, this is definitely a master. In the expectant eyes of everyone, the little Taoist slashed at the horse thief with every knife fiercely and quickly, and broke out with a metallic sound of clanging. And then, the horse thief was unharmed. Ah, the operation is as fierce as a tiger, and Dingxing looks at the pestle in place. At this moment, the senior brother who was a player almost collapsed with his faith in Tao heart. That's all I have to do. What have I been doing all these years for? Am I just a joke? The senior brother's eyes were confused, his hand trembled, and he didn't notice that the knife fell to the ground. The thief smiled disdainfully, picked up the axe in his hand and slashed at his neck. Seeing that he was about to be killed with one move, a figure crossed from behind and kicked the horse thief away with a reflexive kick. Don't cut it, it's useless to cut it, Uncle Nine said with a serious face. Then he stepped forward and kicked him down, bit his finger, smeared the blood on the knife with his fingertips, and sealed his throat with a knife. Blood gushed out, and the thief screamed in pain before falling to the ground and dying. What a good comprehension of a martial idiot like senior brother, I understood it at once, and learned to bite my fingers and wipe the blade. Then he lunged at the other horse thief, slashed at his neck, and pulled hard. Puff! Blood from the major arteries sprinkled into the night sky like a fountain. One knife at a time, Big Brother's Tao heart is re-solidified. Over there, Wensai Chusheng also grasped this skill and began to counterattack the horse thief. For a while, the horse thieves suffered heavy casualties. Cow! Sure enough, the enchanted elder brother is invincible. It has to be Uncle Nine. I can see through the left side door at a glance. Hack him to death and avenge Xiao Ningzi. At this moment, 3 figures rushed out from the other side, led by a witch, who looked quite marked, but with dark facial features and fierce eyes. Senior brother is addicted to the game at this time, and I see that there are still a few people missing, and he is still the leader. Then he has it. The anger of the little junior brother has not subsided? Since it's a woman, let's spare her life and tie her up. Rushed over with Wensai Chusheng, but Chusheng was still dissatisfied with the little Taoist priest and left a few positions slightly. 3 for 3, but these 3 horse thieves are obviously different, and they are a lot more powerful. Wensai collapsed first, Chusheng went to help, the 2 barely dealt with one, and the little Taoist priest barely coped with one, but after all, under the method of drawing blood with blood of Uncle Ju, the 2 people were chopped. Before he could rejoice, he was hit by 2 black tentacles several meters long, and immediately flew upside down, bleeding heavily. You engage in sneak attacks, you can't afford to play, you little trash, you don't have the strength. The senior brother basically lost his combat effectiveness at this time, and if he wants to revive his strength again, he will have to wait for a while. Ah, this is changing, senior brother still wants to play for a while? Okay, by the way, what's this game called? What? Zombie Lust Caution, oh Zombie World. Okay, I'm going to buy a copy to play with too. With the switch of identity, the little Taoist priest is back. Ah ha ha, I'm sorry, my senior brother has caused trouble for everyone, now I'll come by myself. Ah, this injury is too serious. The familiar voice of the little Taoist priest came, and the live broadcast room suddenly burst into laughter. These two brothers are really a living treasure. The little Taoist priest didn't have the heart to tease, now he was weak, but fortunately, he still had some sense of security by the side of Uncle Ju at this time. The two sides confronted each other like this, and when the witch saw that her men were injured, her throat suddenly churned, and she spat out a handful of maggots, and wiped them on the wounds of the horse thief, and the wounds merged in an instant, and no longer bleed. This is disgusting, isn't it? Thanks. The pizza I just ate has been spit out. Damn, I like it. Upstairs, I think you're a pervert. The netizens in the live broadcast room have all experienced the baptism of Old Lady Ren, but they are still uncomfortable and their scalps are numb when they see such a technique using poisonous insects as a means. I don't know what the author of this dog thinks, it's all figured out. Is the mental state okay? The little Taoist priest was also trembling when he saw it, and now he can't run away if he wants to escape, so he finally got here, but he doesn't want to reread the file. Master, what should I do? Chusheng asked from the side. Pee some boy pee for me. Uncle Nine whispered. Chusheng suddenly turned embarrassed and said, Master, don't you know me? On a stormy night, I'm gone. Uncle Ju's face darkened, and he turned to Wen Kai. What about you? Division. Master, I'm nervous. I can't pee. Wen Kai's bitter-gourd face wrinkled into a chrysanthemum. Uncle Nine looked at the two of them with a sad face, and then turned to the little Taoist. So young, it should be no problem. The little Taoist couldn't cry or laugh at the expectant eyes, although he was, but he didn't have the function of peeing in the game. I can only laugh dryly. Uncle Nine is desperate. Is this private life so nourishing? I had no choice but to do it myself. Use mine. Scare. Everyone was shocked and terrified when they thought about it. Even everyone in front of the barrage opened their mouths and looked at Uncle Nine incredibly, and their minds were blank for a while. Anyway, Uncle Nine looks like he's in his 40s, right? Old boy. 666. For the sake of Taoism, women, it will only affect the speed of my spell casting. There is no woman in my heart. The Tao is a natural god. Uncle Nine walked behind the tree with a damn face and shish. The witch over there has already healed her subordinates, and she is rushing over with a menacing attitude. That expression, as if she wants everyone to tear it apart. Everyone retreated in horror. The little Taoist priest felt his adrenaline rushing out. Division. Master, is the pea ready? Wen Kai shouted anxiously, wanting to take a look behind the big tree. Said that it was too late, and then quickly, a smell of urine flew over the head of the little Taoist priest and went straight to the three witches. The witches' momentum was too strong to dodge, and the three of them caught it all without leaking. The little Taoist priest saw that the two people who were originally injured and were healed by the witch with maggots. The wounds broke again, and the blood flowed faster. The witch was again treated with maggots, but the wound could not be closed anyway. Is this because the boy's urine is terrible, or is it because of the boy's urine in the last year? The little Taoist priest was dumbfounded. Let's go. Uncle Nine would not let go of such a good opportunity, so he rushed forward with a knife, and Chusheng followed closely behind. Take advantage of your illness to kill you. Chusheng and Uncle Ju first moved to the two injured people on the ground. The witch wanted to save people, but the two black tentacles were split in two, and their strength was greatly reduced, and instead of saving people, one section was cut off. Looking at the two people who died tragically in front of her, the witch was impotent and furious, and everyone surrounded her, no longer fighting, and took herself away as soon as her tentacles rose into the tree. Finally gone. The little Taoist priest was a little lucky. He was really afraid that the woman would go crazy and kill indiscriminately, and he would not be able to escape. At the end of the matter, Captain Ah Wei also happened to come over and arranged for his men to dig a pit and bury the horse thief, and bring the injured and dead villagers back to the town. With Uncle Ju's herbal treatment, the little Taoist's physical strength finally recovered little by little. Go back to the room for archiving. Fast forward to the next day, and the little Taoist priest's body has recovered to 7788, and he can get out of bed. Just as Wen Kai came over and said, "There is a man named Mao Shanming coming to you in front." Mao Shanming. Why are you here? The little Taoist priest was puzzled. When I came to the front hall, I saw the obscene face sitting and drinking tea, and when I saw the little Taoist priest coming out, he smiled. Little Dao, I heard yesterday that you were injured, and we had a relationship of birth and death, so I came to see you. How is it? Xie Dao cares. The little Taoist priest said casually. This time I also came to say goodbye to Dao, and there is one more thing, that is, recently, I am shy in my pocket, I don't know if I can borrow a few money, don't worry, I will pay you back in the future. Mao Shanming patted his chest and affirmed. Nothing to do. Qingdian, this guy is really not that kind. Damn, I'm just a kid and you borrowed money from me. You want to borrow money to raise ghosts? Said the little Taoist priest sarcastically. Raising ghosts? What are raising ghosts? At this time, Uncle Nine happened to come in for a long time. The little Taoist priest immediately gave the ninth Uncle Nunu's mouth. Uncle Nine glanced at Mao Shanming, then shifted his gaze to the umbrella in his hand, and sighed. Fellow Taoist. Everyone is a fellow Taoist, the first precept of Mao Shan, you know, right? You know, good and evil are opposed, and you will fight for life, Mao Shanming said with a smile. Know that you still raise ghosts? Uncle Nine said in surprise. The little Taoist priest sat on the side and watched it funny, and he didn't know if he would fight. This Mao Shanming was so weak, Uncle Nine should be able to deal with it with one hand. I'm just here for 2 meals, Mao Shanming said embarrassedly. Demons are ominous things, a mixture of poverty, sorrow, decay, calamity, disgrace, malice, mildew, pain, sickness and death, 18 kinds of calamities. That's right. Mao Shanming rarely showed a sad expression. If only you could understand, Uncle Nine said with relief. Otherwise, Dao will take these 2 ghosts in, and it will be better to surpass them than to be a lonely ghost. Mao Shanming actually wanted to hand over the ghost, and the little Taoist priest was amazed. This was the root of his cheating money. Moreover, Uncle Ju's statement about ghosts was extremely agreed with by the little Taoist priest. There were similar records in the collection of Taoist temples before. Okay, leave it to me. Uncle Nine nodded, took a clay pot from the side, and saw that the little Taoist priest had been looking at it curiously, so he smiled and said, Want to learn? The little Taoist priest nodded desperately. There are clouds in Dao Fa Wei Yuan, such as collecting evil spirits, thinking that the Big Dipper is as big as a wheel, and the starlight goes straight down to the altar, and uses clay pots and copper coins to collect souls. As he spoke, Uncle Ju pierced the bottom with his sword fingers, aimed the mouth of the altar at the position of the Mao Shanming umbrella, and then took out a small gossip mirror and placed it in the hole at the bottom, and pulled it back hard. The spirit of the umbrella was sucked into the altar. How could the little Taoist priest let go of such an opportunity, and read it without blinking his eyes? The subtitle floats. I have learned the method of collecting evil spirits. The little Taoist priest is confirmed. Only if Uncle Nine is willing to teach, or send a secret book of books, the player can learn it, and it is usually useless to look at it by himself. This is a way to collect ghosts. I've wanted to learn it for a long time. The sailors were so envious at first glance. Good guy, the little Taoist priest really deserves to be the founder of the apprenticeship, and he won't let it go at all. With this trick, the beautiful female ghost is considered to have fallen. Let's go to Tan Million's house to kill a horse gun first. Damn, why can't I get so many Dao methods? The little Taoist priest guessed that the small gossip mirror held by Uncle Nine should be a magic weapon that had absorbed the light of the Big Dipper. Sure enough, such a thing as a secret method does not rely on the master to inherit. Even if you look at it, you don't know the mystery. The little Taoist priest sighed a lot. This game is too real. After collecting the 2 ghosts, the little Taoist priest helped Uncle Nine to carry him to the next room, and when he opened the door, he saw that there were all crockpots, layer upon layer, with sorghum written on them, daughter red, and ginseng tonic wine, and those who didn't know really thought they were all wine. Dabao Zaobao, you will be here in the future, be obedient, and go to the Yamahal to be reincarnated as soon as possible, Mao Shanming said with some reluctance. I didn't expect this person to have such an atmospheric side, and the little Taoist priest was impressed by him. Let's go. Many villagers were injured last night, go to the front yard to help, Uncle Nine said to the little Taoist. Mao Shanming opened his mouth and said, "I'll go too." Several people felt the front yard, where there was a wail, and more than a dozen villagers were lying on the ground convulsing and crying out in pain. Chusheng and Wensai were pounding herbs on the side. Ren Tingting had just sat down to rest, and when she saw Uncle Nine coming, she hurriedly asked, "Uncle Nine, what should I do? These villagers still haven't improved." Uncle Nine frowned, and checked the wounds of several people. These people were sprinkled with powder by horse thieves, and they had red rashes all over their bodies, and they puffed up several large bags. Uncle Nine took a dagger and swiped it lightly on the bulging skin, and suddenly a large number of maggots poured out. Gross. The scene remembered a retching sound, and there were no more or less sailors in front of the barrage. Ren Tingting was even more frightened and retreated again and again, hitting the little Taoist. "Master, this is..." The little Taoist priest can't look at the picture, he's a dense phobia. "It's poison." Uncle Nine looked solemn. How could the little Taoist not know the word? It is said that it is already a lost thing in the real world, but I didn't expect to see the real face in the game. It was so disgusting. Uncle Nine stood up, went to the table and wrote a manuscript and handed it to the little Taoist. "The three of you go and find these herbs, hurry up, otherwise the villagers won't be able to hold on." The three of them immediately received the order, took the small dagger for digging herbs and went out. On the way, Wen Kai said distress-edly, "I don't understand herbs, do you know?" "Of course I know, the master told you to read, you always sleep, it's strange if you can understand." Chusheng scolded with a smile. "Two senior brothers, I don't know too much, so I'll take the trouble to give me guidance when the time comes." The little Taoist priest smiled. Chusheng immediately turned his head away and pretended not to hear. "I'll go. Do you want to be so serious? Won't I kill you, a female ghost?" The little Taoist priest was speechless, but he also blamed himself for being anxious at the time, and he beat a little harder in front of Chusheng. As soon as the three of them entered the woods, they saw that a piece of ground in front of them had been dug up, and it was empty. The little Taoist priest was shocked. This seems to be the place where the horse thief was buried before. Before I could think about it, I felt a sound in my head, and then there was a sharp pain in the back of my head, and the screen went black. "Brothers, have you seen clearly?" The little Taoist priest was taken aback just now. What did he encounter? The sailors were happy. The characters in this game are elusive, and they must have encountered some ghosts. But there is no game failure. I guess I fainted. Walking the rivers and lakes, the little Taoist priest is still a little tender. Haha. Learn more from Mao Shanming. Soon the screen lit up, and there was a huge spider crawling on his face, and the 8 feet were slowly rubbing against his face, and the fine fluff on the feet was prickly. The little Taoist's pupils contracted instantly, and the whole person trembled like chaff, not daring to move, for fear that the spider would crawl into his mouth. How could it be like this? Go away, go away. The little Taoist priest's mouth was tightened, and he could only make a hum sound. Seeing that the spider did not react, the little Taoist priest shook his head stiffly, and then shook off the palm-sized spider, but when he looked down, his body was also densely covered with centipedes, cockroaches, maggots and other things. The little Taoist is about to collapse. The impact of this thing on him is too strong, and there is an impulse to uninstall the game for a moment. By the way, what about the others? The little Taoist priest looked left and right, only to find that this was in the cave, and there was a figure on the left side tied to the pillar, which looked like Chusheng. At this time, the figure of the witch came over from the side, and when she saw that the little Taoist priest woke up, she didn't care, and walked to the corner, where there were 2 corpses under her hands before. The witch raised her hand and slashed open their chests and reached inside. The cruel picture at this moment made the sailors directly give the crab a generous salute, and they could already imagine what it was like to be in that scene, and they immediately sympathized with the little Taoist. The little Taoist priest couldn't show his Tao method, and he was tied to a pillar and lonely, weak and helpless. The witch hand grabbed a large cyan centipede from the corpse's chest, and then walked towards Chusheng, pinched Chusheng's mouth in the frightened eyes of the little Taoist, and then put the big centipede inside. Chusheng's originally unconscious body suddenly twitched, his eyes rolled white, and he kept shaking his mouth open, and he could clearly see the traces of the centipede bulging in his throat, slowly sliding, and leaving the tail to swing at the corner of his mouth. Hiss! Look at Lao Tzu's hair upside down. I can come up with this kind of plot. Uncle is such a ruthless person. I can't stand it. What should the little Taoist priest do? I can't escape now. If you want them to be wiped out, you just need a bottle of insecticide. What a pervert, I'm really going to thank you. The psychological defense line of everyone in the barrage area was suddenly overwhelmed, and the souls were scared out. The little Taoist priest was paralyzed weakly, sweating profusely all over his body, and let out a hoarse exclamation with his mouth half open. You. I. The witch looked at him mockingly, then walked over to the other corpse, looking for the other centipede in her body. Is it going to die? Blessed by the immeasurable heavenly venerable? The little Taoist priest thought desperately, and his palm began to grope around, and suddenly found the dagger he put on his back to dig herbs. A pang of hope burned in my heart. The little Taoist priest immediately cut the rope with a dagger in a panic, but his trembling hand made him slow down, and when he looked up again, the witch had already taken out the big centipede and stood up. As the distance got closer, the little priest trembled with fear, which in the eyes of the witch was a sign of fear. The little Taoist priest was indeed afraid, and when the two of them were still 1 meter apart, the rope broke. At this moment, the little Taoist priest ignored his weak legs, and violently slammed into the witch directly. Suddenly, the witch didn't expect it at all, and as a result, she was knocked to the ground, and the centipede fell into the poisonous swarm and disappeared. The little Taoist priest didn't dare to delay, staggered up, and then ran towards the mouth of the cave, trying to survive to the limit. Behind her, the witch let out an angry scream. Suddenly, the whole cave let out a squeak. As soon as the little Taoist priest raised his head, bats that covered the sky and the sun flew out of the dark cave, and they were extremely shocked under the light of the firelight. They all swooped towards the little Taoist, and then the poisonous insects on the ground also chased after them. The little Taoist priest was already weak, and this time he was knocked down by a bat, and then all the poisonous insects swarmed up. The screams suddenly resounded through the cave. You're dead. Game failed.